Hey, hey, hey. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. Listen, I am so glad y'all here. In case you did not know, today is my birthday, so feel free to chat me up, telling me happy birthday today while we going live. I take all well wishes, honey, all the well wishes. Listen, was Filter Free Friday last week the worst? Oh my God, it was so terrible. I always go back and watch. And I thought last week was awful. And to my defense, or in my defense, last week I had been traveling, honey, and I didn't get home till almost 4 a.m. with travel delays. And shoo, woo, it was really hard for me to say anything coherent. But how about Sunday? Child, a couple times this week I done got up and got involved in personalities and candidates instead of talking about issues that I care about. And I was, uh, Vice President Kamala Harris happens to be an AKA, and she is also a member of the Links Incorporated. And so I found myself getting caught up into the personalities instead of focusing on policy. And just so you know, when anytime any group is trying to decide that they want to be involved in any kind of like organizing event for any reason. Um, it can be you're trying to fix dysfunction in your family. It can be you're trying to take on drinking and driving. It could be you're taking on some massive gun legislation issue, or you're just trying to get a bond passed in your school district. There's basically four general phases. And Sunday, after President Joe Biden dropped out of the race for the presidency of the United States for another term, I was in the first zone, which is the most popular one actually, and that was like, oh my God, this is sad. Um, Nothing can be done. It feels like an isolated issue, and quite frankly, child, I just went to sleep, honey. I was like, I don't because I had helped my girlfriend. And by the way, it's my birthday. So if y'all want to send a little chat to tell me happy birthday, I appreciate it. I'm gonna put it on the screen just so you know. Um, I'd helped my friend Tanisha run for school board here in Kansas City, and important election because she was running at large. But I cannot imagine in any way, in any way, that we would have been able to win that election with just 3 months to go. And so Sunday, child, I was like, "Whoo, let me go to sleep." But then when I woke up, baby, when I woke up, it looked like there had definitely been some people in a very different part of this process. And it's the one that's the least common, but the most empowered, the most centered, the most focused. And it is, how do we get free? Like, what is our goal? What do we want to accomplish? And what's going to help us get accomplished? When I woke up from my nap, and just know in these four phases, no one is more important or better than the others, just like the reality of where people are. Child, people had been strategizing, and I don't even know how many text messages, direct messages, emails with like, hey, get on this call. And I was just motivated by 44,000 Black women um, getting on a phone call or a Zoom call. And it had all kinds of challenges with it. Thank you, Tiffany. I know I asked for it, but thank you, girl. Look, I wish you was close. We could do a photo shoot today. I look homeless. Get my hair done next week. I got to pull it together for my little party today. But yeah, it's interesting because 44,000 Black women got on a Zoom call, and watching that thing happen real time was interesting because I had never been part of organizing like immediately like that. So at first they didn't even realize that was so public. People were giving out folks personal phone numbers, the Zoom link. Hey girl, hey, see you this afternoon at 4. Um, then the Zoom didn't have enough space because people were using their personal Zoom. So it had been like uh just like 1,000 people could get on, and people were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And the COO of Zoom was on that call, baby, and she opened that thing up, and we ended the night with like over a little over 44,000 people on. And I was just so inspired because the policy positions that I care about. I happen to think that abortion should be free or at least accessible. And I think that it should be a woman should have the right to choose what she wants to do. I am Christian, and I do not believe that we should govern our country as if everybody is Christian. And I know the implications of forcing people to have children that they do not want. We already have enough children who are in foster care, can't be placed. We do not have enough people to adopt children, especially if those children happen to be older. Our systems and structures just don't make way for what we are putting in place. And so, anyway, honey, everybody's making their little donations, and before the night was over, I think we had raised a little over $1 million, and it was just fantastic. But there are two other phases when people are trying to like organize. So one is like sad, oh my God, this is terrible, but there's nothing I can do. Who do I talk to? What do I do? That's where I was when I went to sleep. And I think sometimes we need to give ourselves grace for when we are there. When you look at what happened to Sonia Massey being executed in her own home when she called the police this week, I know that it makes sense to be sad, and it makes sense to feel like there is nothing you can do. But man, am I excited about people like Laura McDonald and More Squared and my counsel Spencer, who are like really trying to tackle police reform. Like my uncle is a sheriff in Coahoma County, Mississippi. My one of my childhood friends is a police officer here in Kansas City, and there every Thursday I'm at the KC 360 meeting, and there are at least a dozen community engagement officers, detectives, majors in the police department who are trying to do good work. And this is always the stain on the badge. And so it's good to see the juxtaposition of how sometimes I'm just like, oh God, this is terrible. What are we going to do? And then also seeing those people who are focused and relentless and are like, look, how do we get free? And those two ends are not necessarily in conflict with each other. And I think I need people to recognize that one is not even better than the other. We just need to recognize where people are so we can move them along. The other one that sometimes people don't quite think about, this also very popular, is like, dang, this is messed up. Like it's messed up, but ain't nothing I can do. So I'm not necessarily sad. I'm mad about it, but I again am unfocused, don't know who to direct my energy towards. This you often hear preachers in this space. They'll say, "Oh, we just need to pray." They'll talk about how bad a thing is, and then just be like, "We need to just pray," or you need to redirect your energy to the things that directly impact your life. Just know that that is not a strategy. It's not bad, not bad. It's just not a strategy to change things because we have the capacity and the ability to change things. I tell people often when the state of Missouri decided in 2017 that that it made sense to not have to have not a background check, but you don't have to go to the class to get your CCW license. And there's no minimum age at which you can carry a gun. Listen, the Jackson County prosecutor had to drop like 800 cases immediately. And while some of you feel like, yeah, people are being wrongfully convicted, listen, we have to have some combination of, and this has been well documented, evidence, and proven. Yeah, there is still a need for enforcement at times. And yes, there's a need for intervention. And yes, there's a need for collaboration. And all of these things kind of go together. Um, but you just can't have that. And we had a 47% increase in gun homicides in Kansas City just based on that legislation. So I appreciate people who will get together and say, how do we get free, and not just be mad. And then there's the group that I always appreciate. Sometimes I am often in it, who are just like, you know what, F all this. I'm passionate. I'm serious. I don't know necessarily where to direct this anger. Might not know a strategy. People even might say things like, I'm gonna just wait and see what happens. That is people think that waiting to see what happens is not a decision. Indecision is a decision. You decide, you deciding something. You know what I mean? It's just like what is that thing that you're deciding? And so I try not to sell y'all stuff, but on August 9th, I am teaching my flagship trademark process for how to focus quickly on how do we get free. If you are with one person, you can do it in 20 minutes. If you're with 10 people or less, you can do it. And the situation is not too horribly complicated. You can learn to use this process in 2 hours and get to a how do we get free strategy. If it is super major, complicated, the kind of thing that it would take you 6 months to develop a focused strategy, I can teach you how to do it with people in 2 days. And folks say, well, Nicole, why would you teach your flagship process? Well, because I can't help everybody. And quite frankly, I'm not the person for everybody. And I have put the process in multiple books. That's why I did trademark it and copyright it so that I can share it, without people stealing it necessarily. But I want the world to be a better place. I want people to be focused. I want people to be energized. And anyway, because it's my birthday month and I don't tend to sell people stuff on social media, you probably don't know that if you go to livelyparadox.com and sign up for the class, it is in person. So it's here in Kansas City on August 9th. That if you use the code birthday, you get 75% off just for the month of July, because I want lots of people in the room, especially my friends. Oh, praise report. I just closed my first deal from somebody on social media that is just my friend on social media that I don't know them in any professional capacity. So I think that's good. Super excited and happy about that. And if you did watch that Sonya Massey video, I hope you're taking good care of yourself. I wasn't going to watch it. And then I did. And then I watched it in slow motion. And then I just listened to it. And you know what I'm grateful for? I'm grateful that they charged him with murder. We have made progress in that way, that they ain't trying to put him on leave and while they sort it out, paid leave anyway too. So it's really sad to think that um you call the police and it ends up being, I'm gonna shoot you in your effing face. And I just one of the best things that I saw happen this week was for my friend Matt to post on publicly that this is saddened for him and is a stain on the badge. It was good for me to see that, because you can get into this idea that um, everybody's like that, nobody cares, there's no way for us to be able to fix it. And I also am grateful for body cameras, because without body cameras, how would we be able to to prove some of these things too? And the juxtaposition of Sonya Massey being murdered this week with Vice President Kamala Harris deciding to run for the presidency is not lost on me. I think I was not prepared, and this is fascinating. I think I was not prepared for the regular attacks that tend to happen to with Black women. This idea that somehow we are whorish, um, that we if we got to a position is because we slept our way to the top. And I think that's interesting when you take a historical perspective at um, the social arrangement and sex as it relates to Black women historically in this country. No agency for our bodies being used as a portal to be able to create more labor for the wealthy white class here in this country. And then to have people go back in history and rewrite it as if, oh, yeah, Sally Hemings was Jefferson's mistress instead of Sally Hemings was the victim of rape, and had no choice in the matter. And when people say to me, we got to stop bringing up slavery, because by the way, this keeps coming up, and it's not always the people who you might think telling me that we got to stop talking about slavery. Here's what I think is probably more true: that we need to talk about slavery as white history, and let's talk and stop talking about slavery as Black history. Black people survived slavery. the actual act of enslaving other human beings is something that historically white Americans in the US have done. Thank you for the birthday wishes. I appreciate every single last one of them. I got to tell you that I'm 48 today, and I was trying to feel like what is really different for being 48 versus when I was like 28. I have always walked into rooms and forgotten why I was going in there, so that's not new. That's not new at all. But what is new is that I have to stretch before I go to bed, or else I can't get out of the bed in the morning, which is it's kind of irritating. And then also sometimes in the morning, if I don't stretch by midday, I kind of walk like with a little anterior pelvic tilt, which is fascinating. I feel 20 years old though most of the time. But hey, what we gonna do? My mama used to say, listen, what's the alternative to getting old? She used to be like, well, child. Mm. So anyway, what I wanted to thanks, Dr. March. I don't know what else is gonna happen, child. But ooh, getting up in the middle of the night. Look, can you see this youthful glow? Mm, 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 mm. They say it's something to do with being black and not cracking. I don't know. But I just wanted to share with y'all that people are going to be at various stages of this process. I sat on a Zoom call this week to learn about how to mobilize Gen Z. And what I heard was that they are not as motivated by parties or even candidates, but are motivated by issues. And I continually get caught up in candidates. But as I was saying, I think abortion is healthcare. The um, the health community is pretty solid on that idea. I also think that it is important to let everybody know that their difference is important, and it adds value. And the more we know about each other and our differences, we can leverage that difference for good. Hey, I hope you're feeling better, girl. Um, and then I really do care about public school, and I think that public school, I am a product of public school. I had really no other options. And I had exceptional teachers. And when the expectation is high, students rise to that level of expectation. You can't rise to a low expectation. And I think there was a SNL skit that I watched with Megan Thee Stallion on, and if I can find it, I'll put the link in the chat. And the teacher was thinking that she was going into a school and the kids were at risk, and she's trying to give them the pep talk. But what if why Carl Boyd asked me this yesterday, why do we believe that black children need to be in summer programs to keep them out of trouble? What if instead of speaking those words over children, we said things like, you're going to be in this summer program so that you can learn leadership skills. You're going to be in this summer program so that you can learn critical thinking skills. You're going to be in the summer program so that you can learn the 4 stages of organizing, and I think we have to be very, very clear, very, very careful with our words, because our children have untapped potential. To call them at risk is damaging. And I regularly think about the policy issues that I care about. And I spend my time in Rappahannock County, Caroline County, Virginia, in rural parts of the US. I get to be in urban centers, of course. In fact, within a day, I was in Times Square, and then I was in Bowling Green, Virginia. Everybody's lived experience adds value, and the difference that we have is important to build on. And we have to find ways, in fact, to be able to help people feel included, because when people don't feel included, you start to see things like fearful behavior that causes them to look like they are hateful, but it's just fear. And most of the time, folk don't even understand equity. I was just talking with someone just last night, who was telling me that she was following a process as it related to my brother dying. And the issue with following the process meant that the word was not getting out that my brother had passed away. And there were some negative implications of that, at least for me. And so when I think about equity, this is an exercise I like to do. And if you want to use it, I think it's helpful. And I think I came up with this on my own. I did not see this somewhere else. Let's imagine I happen to have a glass here because I didn't take my water glass downstairs yesterday. Don't judge me. Let's say I got this glass and I've got this empty bottle here. If I was treating people equally, I would just start pouring water into both of these vessels. Just start pouring. But one of them will fill up because it's right side up. It's made to hold water. That's really simple. But if I'm pouring water into this vessel, first I have to turn it right side up. It's not the bottle's fault that it's on its side. It's my job to turn it right side up. And then there's a little cap on it. So I got to take the cap off. And then I can pour water into both of these vessels, and they both have the same access and opportunity. But if I'm gonna leave it like this and just pour water in both of them, like this one is not gonna benefit. And so equality, while it sounds wonderful, is not what we need. And I know this is nuanced. I know I'm being academic, but that's why I use illustration, because people think that the act of doing this is discriminatory. It is unfair. And let me just say, I guess by definition, yeah, it's discriminatory, but it absolutely is not unfair. It is not unfair. Why wouldn't we do this? And so when we think about things like having free lunch, we were doing it during COVID and it was working, right? It was working. We have to, I try not to say what is wrong with people because I'm supposed to be trying to get that language out of my vocabulary. But if I'm just being honest with you, the term that comes to mind when someone thinks that a child should be hungry because the decisions their parent made, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? It's ridiculous. You want no child to be going hungry for any reason. For any reason. And so when I think about these kinds of policies, I think the Department of Justice is important. I think environment when I studied chemical engineering, my focus was on environmental sustainability. When I worked at Hallmark Cards and they had switched from water-based ink to solvent-based ink, the cleanup of the soil that happened outside was me and Rick Robeson, phytoremediation, using trees to do that. What I look like today saying I don't care nothing about environmental protections and just drill, baby, drill, just do whatever you want. Like, this the reason why we're experiencing greater floods and greater drought in certain places around the globe. Um, Additional forest fires, more hurricanes. Climate change is real. I'm a scientist, right? Like, I'm a scientist. And these policy positions are supported by certain candidates and not supported by others. Try, my loves, as you are engaging in your discussions around who should and shouldn't be president of the United States, that you are actually disagreeing with people about policy. Because trust me when I say this, I'm going to look at you with looking like, trust me when I say this. If you knew everything about my life, if you ran me through the presidential filter about halfway through the day, you'd be like, she ain't the one. It's the reason why most people will not run for public office because they can't. You going back to when I was 12, and this is a lot. This is a lot. It's a lot. Orlando, I've been praying for you, baby. It's a lot. And so August 9th, I am teaching people how to use my evidence-based process. If you happen to be a community organizer, if you happen to be a learning and development expert, if you happen to be a coach, if you have a team of people that you lead, this process, I'm telling you, does nothing else but create efficiency for decision making and and creating strategies. And I'm giving it away. If this is not new, I have always been giving it away in my books, but people don't read. And I'm not saying that as a judgment, that is just a descriptor. So I'm going to show it to you. August 9th at the Renewal Center in Liberty. The price is very expensive before my birthday. Using the code BIRTHDAY at livelyparadox.com. In fact, let me put that in here. If you use the code BIRTHDAY at livelyparadox.com, you can get 75% off. And I think we have 9 seats left or something like that. And I would love to have you. August 9th from, I think, 9 to 12. We'll have fiddles and gifts, and it is very efficient. This class is typically 2 days. And I'm just giving you the meat or giving you the bones. I don't know. giving you just the meat of it. And so we've gotten it down to 3 hours. And I hope you can come. Remember, the code is birthday just through the month of July because it is my birthday month. All right, sugars. Listen, I love y'all with my whole heart. And let me know how y'all doing because y'all need to take care of yourself. I appreciate all these birthday wishes, and I know I did ask for them, but you know what I've come to learn: closed mouths don't get fed. My mom used to say that all the time, and these little birthday wishes feel just as good to me, uh, even though I asked for them. Yeah. All right, can I show y'all my bag? Look at this. Look at that, 48. Now, if somebody got one of them Ozempic shots, give it to me so I can get some of this fat down off of these muscles. Okay? It's filter free Friday, y'all. We got work to do.